It gives me comfort. It's very nurturing in a sense that you can kind of get cocooned up in it, right? So it's a color that's not blaring, it's not loud, but it is very stable, comforting and tranquil. So it's my new dependable new dark. So it does give me that comfort.
This is Aran Gusamba, head of color at WGSN, and my guest on this episode. Hello and welcome to the Create Tomorrow podcast. I'm your host, Cassandra Napoli, head of marketing and events insight at WGSN. Every 2 weeks, I will be taking you on a journey, looking at how brands and consumers are creating tomorrow, whether that's through product innovations, actions and strategies, or online behaviors. Today, we'll be looking at the 2025 Color of the Year, uncovering the forecast process, how it got its name, and the key emotional drivers. As mentioned, to explore this topic with me today is Aran Gusamba, head of color at WGSN.
Hi, Cassandra.
So before you tell us what the Color of the Year is, I want to first throw it over to you. Can you tell us what you do here at WGSN, Aran Gu?
Sure, of course. Nice to see you, Cassandra, and Happy New Year to you and everyone who's listening. Happy to be here. So I'm Aran Gusamba. I'm the head of color at WGSN. I lead the WGSN color team to create world-class insights and analysis across all things color. So you can find the color of the year, the key color campaigns, also color trends, advanced color, that's 5 years in advance, kind of sitting under the color team. And this is, connecting future sentiments to emerging color developments in leading creative industries.
So I can talk about it from a consumer perspective, but so much of being a consumer forecaster is part data, part intuition, kind of building on themes and trends and signals from the past and kind of seeing where that's evolving into. Is it the same for color? Do you take inspiration from what the colors were in 2024 and kind of build on that? And can you track over the years how we landed here at these colors for 2025?
So it's always a point of conversation, like how do we exactly pick key color of the year? And I would say it's definitely a mix of intuition, our industry insights, expert points of views, as well as data. So it's definitely a mix. And with intuition, obviously at WGSN, we do go through a very rigorous process to get to a decision. With intuition is that we do try to have data to really inform us, but not direct us. So it does come from experiences of being in the industry and experiences of forecasting color for many years as well.
Amazing. So interesting. Can you tell us, it's the sort of moment of reveal, what the color of the year is?
So the color of the year for 2025 is Future Dusk. So Future Dusk is a very dark, moody, intriguing hue. It sits between blue and purple. It has a sense of mystery and escapism that is feeding into the themes of transition, which has been a big topic for us at WGSN. So whether it be moving from dark to light, to dusk to dawn, hence the name, making it perfect for a period of immense change. And I believe the Future Dusk, for the color of the year, it offers a fresh take on dependable dark blue, which is navy, and it manages to feel this kind of like very simultaneously familiar, yet giving off that futuristic feel.
How does Future Dusk make you feel?
So Future Dusk gives me comfort. It's very nurturing in a sense that you can kind of get cocooned up in it, right? So it's a color that's not like blaring, it's not loud, but it is very stable, comforting and tranquil. So I would say that Future Dusk is my new navy. It's my new dependable new dark. So it does give me that comfort.
So is Future Dusk already popping up in your wardrobe?
So actually Future Dusk is popping up a lot on my beauty. So I've got this super dark lipstick by Huda Beauty, and it's this hue of Future Dusk. And also I've been obsessed with this really dark purple nail gel colors as well. So that's my kind of winter go-to.
So I'm a consumer forecaster, so I don't touch color pretty much ever, right? And I'm so intrigued as to like how you land on this shade. Can you give our listeners a little bit of an insight? Because I imagine it's you're sitting in a room and you're all kind of like reliving that Miranda Priestley moment of cerulean blue in The Devil Wears Prada. But I imagine it's more complex than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the $1 million question, right? So it's like, what is behind the scenes of choosing this color? And it's a really, really fun collaborative process between all the WGSN verticals. So the color of the year emerges from the WGSN Global Color Workshop, which takes place every 6 months. So that's seasonal workshops, which are experts from fashion, which is we have Sarah, our head of women's wear, joining. We have Reiko from consumer tech. We have the director of interiors, Gemma, but also brand new to WGSN, our sports and outdoors vertical. We have Jennifer Birch joining as well. So we have kind of all the key experts in our areas joining this color workshop. And it's a very much a collaborative effort that results in the selection of the color of the year. And as you can imagine, the color must have versatility across all the industries and regions that we serve. And on top of that, our STEPIC framework is super important as it strengthens research and insights provided by our expert.
When you say that it has to be regionally inclusive, right? How do you kind of determine that? Because color has so much variation, right, across the world.
So that becomes a big topic of conversation during the color workshop. So we have our experts joining from the US, Brazil, China, or research coming from our experts from those regions. So regional specific color can be very divisive, but we really try to come to a decision with all of us after 3 days of trends like workshopping that this is the color that would apply globally well across all regions.
Yeah, and speaking of inclusion, how gender inclusive is Future Dusk?
As we shift towards kind of gender inclusive fashion acceleration, we see color playing a vital role enhancing consumers' identity, while also expressing product design rooted in longevity, which is a big topic, agelessness, and non-binary thinking for sustainable futures. I mean, the use of Future Dusk, we call it as a new dark. It will like provoke and offer ageless appeal and versatility and can be used as an alternative to black and also navy.
Amazing. So I want to go back to exactly how we land on Future Dusk, right? You talked about STEPIC, and for listeners, that's society, technology, the environment, politics, industry, and creativity. All of these sort of pillars are the lens in which we view many of our trends at WGSN. But color is unique, right? So tell us exactly how this lens and this proprietary methodology that we have here at WGSN really lends itself to naming the color and also kind of landing on the color.
So naming the color is a super fun process, and landing on the color is, it's a rigorous process to choose the color of the year that we want to ensure that the colors we predict will be successful in the diverse markets that we serve. So as I mentioned, and you mentioned, color is informed by STEPIC. So we search across all industries. So that is the automotive industry. We do trade shows. We go into talks. We look into politics, what's happening in youth culture, for example, what's happening in APAC and beauty. So we kind of come across all those insights, and actually we also bring data from our data sources at WGSN, and that really helps to analyze shelf, social, catwalks, and it kind of confirms the insights that's provided by our experts. So, for example, I think when we looked into Future Dusk, it was 2 years ahead, right? So we had data at that time that Pinterest search for Gen Z were favoring darker aesthetics. So that was a driver for kind of picking this color. And as well as our WGSN search index showed an increase year on year on specifically for dark blue and dark purple. So it was an informer for decisions.
And then If you see those searches, right, dark blue, dark purple, why is that happening, right? From a consumer perspective, where is that being informed? What is that being informed by, rather?
Yeah, so it's informed by many things, right? So it can be a cultural movement, it can be environmental impact. So a lot of darks, we've been talking about nocturnal darks, the importance of darks within interiors, within beauty, and that is an answer or solution to issues that, a lot of people are changing due to extreme climate change and extreme heat, are changing so instead of running during the day, a lot of people are running during the night, or they're swimming at night. There's kind of the phenomenon that in Dubai, a lot of people are swimming in midnight swimming. And so there's the change in how people are living lives, color and products change with that.
And then you've already described the sort of process to how we name the color and how we kind of land there, how many people are involved, what the steps are. But I guess my question naturally would then be like, what do you do with that information? Okay, you identified that a lot of people are living lifestyles at night. Nocturnal living is something we've predicted for a number of years now on Insight. How do you land on that being the color of the year from those insights? Like, what is the connective tissue?
It is, again, a very collaborative effort and decision. So I'd say that from all the kind of stepic meanings or insights that we get, as well as data points, as well as research and analysis from creative industries, from trade shows, etc., we come together and, there will always be a runner-up of color of the year. We are choosing possibly from the 5 key colors that we present with Color Row. So from that, we have discussions of, so the key thing to your answer is, I guess, is in 2 years' time, when we work in 2 years ahead, which color is going to be the most relevant and where do we think is going to sit in terms of globally, in terms of society, in terms of politics, environment, etc., technology. So it is a conversation that we have, and we believe we choose the strongest candidate that has the strongest theme that is also relating to our stepic insights.
I should preface the fact that you are wearing almost a shade of
I am,
today,
yeah.
so.
I'd say that I'm wearing an almost, it's kind of this like in between blue, navy and purple shirt dress.
Perfect. You mentioned that there are runner-ups in terms of color of the year. Can you give us a hint as to what that was and perhaps why you didn't go with that one?
From top of my memory, runner-up was Rayflower, one of the key colors for SS25. It's a yellow hue, and it's kind of that kind of like milky yellow, very warm, joyful hue. And we had many conversations about Rayflower just because of like in 2025, when we were forecasting 2 years ahead, we're saying, would people need this kind of like joyfulness in their lives, this kind of like moment of, let's say, afterwards we came up with glimmer to give like this warmth to people and product design. So that was part of the conversations, and actually we decided to go for Future Dusk instead because we felt that the meaning and the themes, the stories that actually ties in with Future Dusk was a lot more stronger than the stories that we've had with Rayflower.
I have a slightly different question as well. So a lot of my experience with dealing with color is always around the generational attitudes towards color. We had things like millennial pink and Gen Z green, and then there was Gen Z yellow. And it seems like sort of that maybe we're moving beyond sort of generational colors. We've written a little bit about this on Insight. I was wondering what your take is. Will there ever be as big of a narrative around a generational color like there was for millennial pink in the early 2000s? Do you think that the world in culture and digital culture entirely is so fragmented and decentralized? Could there be such a sort of like umbrella color that defines a generation the way millennial pink did in the past?
So that's a really good question, because we have been looking into like, what does it mean for Gen Alpha, right? So what is the color for Gen Alpha? And right now, the kind of initial reaction to that conversation is that color is so fluid it kind of overtakes all generations. It can be ageless, it can be timeless. So as we move forward towards more of a fluid future, I do believe that color will have the same. So maybe Gen Alpha won't have the specific color, but maybe it'll be a color for a time. So a time for era of transition, etc.
What is the measure of success in picking the color of the year? Like, how do you gauge that?
So we're actually in that process now. Every year, so when we've had it with Apricot Crush, which is 2024 color of the year. So every year in December, I sit with the marketing team, data team. We all kind of get together and get points that, you would have seen the Apricot Crush color of the year confirmation post on Instagram and social media on WGSN platforms. And this is where we look at how much has it been used on catwalks, on shelf data, how well the color was perceived within the industry, whether it's been used in terms of art shows, in terms of merchandising, marketing, has it been picked up? So we kind of gauge and look at how well it's been perceived in that year. So for Future Dusk, we will do the same thing when we get to December 2025.
And then are there any case studies you can share now as to how Future Dusk has already shown up as we enter a new year?
Of course, with Future Dusk, we did bring it up quite a while ago, and we have already seen so many success stories, which has been amazing to see. Some of my favorite examples has been recently Riyadh's new cabin crew uniform was all decked out in Future Dusk, taking this very futuristic hue to celestial spaces, which is what was our aim, basically. And also we've seen, like in fashion and active and sportswear, we've seen Yohji Yamamoto's Adidas Y3 collaboration with Real Madrid, which the football kits were decked out in Future Dusk, really kind of showcasing and confirming the versatility of this hue on and off the pitch. But we've seen so many in terms of interiors, product design, but again, I think there was a custom-made table for Louis Vuitton by the Seoul-based artist called Sorum Yoon. She created this kind of like very transparent, like elevated table that in her like crystal series in the hue of Future Dusk. So yeah, do check those out. They're incredible.
Amazing. And then just to shift gears a little bit, can you explain the sort of long-term trend toward transformative colors we've been moving closer to and how Future Dusk really fits into that narrative?
Yeah, so we have been talking about like transformative colors, and in 2025, this year, color will be a key part of immersive and transformative experiences, and that is both digitally and in real life. And I think we can really see this come through with kind of immersive art shows. An example that I could think like at the top of my head was which we've used actually and have been in touch with them quite a bit to get image permissions, is kind of the interactive public art in the streets by Studio Ines. And they created this kind of like air rock in Singapore, and it's like air-filled inflatables that simulate the weight and grandeur of mountains.
It also kind of aligns with this appetite for imagination. We've been talking about that so much on Insight. Our forecast for 2025, our STEPIC forecast for the drivers piece for 2025, which was written multiple years ago, there was a whole section on how this will be the year of strategic imagination and how unlocking imagination and the power of play and sort of everything that comes along with that has a big part to play. And I think Future Dusk fits into that narrative quite nicely. Are you seeing that emerge in spaces that you're tracking already?
Definitely. So Future Dusk definitely aligns with this trend for like transformative colors driven by fantasy and imagination. So the use of Future Dusk we can expect to see, and I look forward to seeing in kind of alluring in-store merchandising and use of like marketing strategies. We've already been seeing how color has been used to transform shopping spaces, such as, we've seen examples from perfume brands like Tambourines. We've seen Gentle Monsters, really immersing the shopping experience with color.
Amazing. I plan to ask all of the guests this, which is, who is someone that is creating a version of tomorrow that you really admire?
Good question. So I do believe the automotive industry is somewhere that's very exciting and making a lot of noise at the moment. We've seen kind of Land Rover, JLR, Jaguar creating noise with those kind of like Miami pink cars, concept cars, London concept cars, So I think automotive industry is something definitely to keep an eye on, and they're creating some super interesting innovations in that space.
Thank you to my guest, Aran Gusamba, Head of Color at WGSN. If you're a WGSN subscriber, look out for more trends available at WGSN.com. And if you're not a subscriber, please come and discover our services. We'll be back in 2 weeks for our next episode. In the meantime, you can catch the CEO of WGSN, Carla Buzashi, next week on our other podcasts, Lives of Tomorrow. I'm your host, Cassandra Napoli. Be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast, and see you next time.